Hey, Facebook Live and fellow real estate investor friends. It is Christine with REI Design Solutions and What the Flip Live. And you are tuning in to What the Flip Live. It is a new year, 2019, and I'm so excited to be here with you. I got to stop bumping my table. It makes my screen jog. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to be talking today about factors that affect the quick resale of a flip property. Before we get into that, I just want to kind of just share a little bit about what's going on here at REI Design Solutions. We're super excited for the new year. Of course, if any of you saw my last email, you'll know that I was kind of philosophizing as to why that's a big deal. What is the big deal with, the earth revolving around the sun, a full revolution around the sun? And what's the big deal with, one day versus another? And I think that, are we good? Okay, cool. We had to do a little sound check, make sure you guys could hear me. I think that for many of us, it's an opportunity to kind of wipe the slate clean and just start fresh and just have a new kind of lease on life and new insights and new goals. And in my email, I mentioned that I read an article about how for a lot of people, it's like, oh my gosh, we survived. Let's party. We survived this last year with all the trials, with all the humanity that we face and the things that we have to deal with. And so I like that take on it. I like, we survived, because you know what? Life is hard. So the reason why I started REI Design Solutions is because not only is life hard, but just choosing a vocation, figuring out what you want to do, how to do it, how to make money doing it. Because, the world revolves around money. We need money. We need to pay the bills. We need to feed our kids and ourselves. And so those things are so important that I wanted to be able to help you, real estate investors, make money doing what you have set out to do. And that is flipping houses, because it is not easy. It's a tough gig. And so, as many of you know, my wheelhouse is interior design and construction. I was a general contractor for many years before semi-retiring to stay at home with my daughter, who's now 9, and then got back into the game doing just design work, and then, of course, flipping houses. And now what I'm doing is REI Design Solutions full-time, helping other real estate investors flip their houses and focusing primarily on the interior design and the construction aspects of flipping houses. So, for example, if you have run into a really difficult title problem, I'm not your go-to gal. But when it comes to the project management, the construction, the design, just everything that goes into making sure that house is ready for resale after you've got it under contract, after you have purchased it, then I'm your gal. I think I know a thing or two, so I'm here to help you. So with that said, I'm really excited for 2019. We have a lot of things that we want to do. Not only are we helping our local real estate investors, but we also really want to reach out and start helping those of you who are in other areas of the country, of the United States, and even Canada, who are getting into flipping houses and just need that guidance in the construction and design phases of your business. So with that said, today I want to come on here, and again, I try and script these a little bit, but bear with me if I say a lot of ums and ahs, because we still are working with local clients, and we have deliverables to do for them, and that does bow us up and keeps us pretty busy. But I really want to come in here every Wednesday, like we've promised, and give you guys as much value as I possibly can with what my real estate investor clients are running into, with what we're encountering on a day-to-day basis as the markets change and as things transform and evolve in this business, in this real estate investing business. I want to get in here and kind of share with you guys as much as I possibly can. So that's why I'm here today. So if any of you are here, please give me a shout out. Let me know that you're listening, tuning in, say hi, wave, give me a smiley face. Don't give me a frowny face. But anyway, so with that said, I'm going to get started on the factors that affect the quick sale of flip properties. In my mind's eye, and correct me if I'm wrong, or give any feedback, because we all are kind of learning together in some respects. But there are three big factors, I believe, and then several kind of sub factors that do affect the quick resale of a flip property. So I'm going to get started on the three main factors, and then we'll dive into some of those less important factors, but they definitely can make a difference depending on the property that you're in. Hey guys, hey, I think it's Jackie and Adam I'm seeing. So very cool. So glad you guys could join me. All right, so let's get into it. So the three main factors, and I'll just hit them real quick and then we'll go back and we'll expand on them. The three main factors that affect the quick resale of a property are your ARV, your after repair value, that the value that you of properties that you are kind of staying within. So are you in the median home range? And obviously for every metropolitan area, that ARV, the median home value, is different. In Houston, it's around, I think it's probably around 220 right now. Those are kind of hard to find, but that's where most people can afford to buy a house in the city of Houston. And I just read an article about Denver. The median home value is like 350 or something like that. So it's going to be different. Your ARV is going to be different everywhere. So anything under that median home value is going to pretty much sell itself. So you could do the crappiest rehab and the ugliest design, and it's probably still going to sell, just because that particular market tends to be pretty hot and most people are buying. Now, do you want to take your chances with crappy design and a poor rehab? Probably not, but just saying that those tend to sell themselves. Anything, excuse me, anything above the median home value, you've really got to be paying attention to some of these other factors when it comes to those properties. So the first factor is the ARV. What ARV are you playing around in? What ARV is your wheelhouse? Are you sticking within? And depending on what that home value range is, that is going to determine what you're going to look at next. So then the next main factor in the resale, the quick resale of flip properties, is the listing price itself. So what's the difference between the ARV and the listing price? Obviously, the ARV is you've looked at all the comps and you've determined that this particular property is within this ARV based on the comps in that particular neighborhood, and excuse me, and the repairs that you plan on doing to that property to get it to that. Now, the listing price is when all that is said and done and you've done the rehab and you're ready to put it back on the market. That is your listing price. Now, is your listing price always going to be the same as the ARV? Hopefully it'll be more, because the market warranted you to be able to put a few more $1,000s on the listing price than what you originally had on the ARV. Hopefully the market hadn't tanked during the time you were doing the rehab, and you can and you don't have to take a loss because you have to list it for less than what you thought the ARV was going to be, so on and so forth. So your listing price is really, really important. And excuse me, one of the reasons why it's important to get that listing price right is because we tend to, first of all, if we put more into the rehab than we initially intended, or that we initially estimated, our rehab ends up being more, then you're looking at all of your numbers and you're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how am I going to get that money back out? And how am I going to make a profit on this property? I spent more money, it's taken too long. All those factors that go into that. And so what tends to happen is we tend to, what's the word for it? We tend to kind of, I don't want to use an inappropriate word, but we tend to kind of fudge what we listed at. And we don't want to do that, because that has its own set of problems where So let's say, for example, your ARV was 300 and you ended up putting and you've looked at all the comps, the rehab is done, you ended up spending a little bit more. Let's just say you spent $20,000 more. And so you're like, okay, well, I got to get that. I got to get that $20,000 back. So now I'm going to list it for 320. Well, so first of all, the market doesn't warrant that you're going to get that 320 for it. You've probably, if people know that houses range right around $300,000, they're probably, when they're doing a search for that property, are only searching for up to 300,000. So you certainly don't want to price yourself out of the property search when potential home buyers are looking for a property. And so it's going to be really important that you don't price yourself out of it because you're trying to get that money back from the rehab or the overage in the repair time and so on and so forth. Now you can look at the market and you can say, hey, the comparables in the last 3 months while I was rehabbing this property show that one of them sold for 340, one of them sold for 325. So then you can say, wow, cool. Look, we can recoup those costs because there are now houses that have sold for that within that price range. So then therefore go ahead and list it at 320. But if all of them are selling for like 290, 295, 299, the last thing you want to do is list it at 320. Now, if you've really rehab that property in such a way that because of the finishes, the design, just everything that you put into it warrants getting 320 out of it, and it really shines and sparkles, there is a good chance you can get it for that much. So I had a client who, by time she put her property back on the market, we had done a beautiful rehab on it. We'd picked some amazing finishes out that really made that property stand out way above the competition. Not only the houses for sale, but also the ones that had sold. And then also the market, there was a slight increase in the market. So what she originally thought she was going to be able to sell for 325, she was able actually to list it for 375 and got it sold it for right around that price really quickly. So you've got to really always be studying your market and seeing what's going on, and then be really realistic in your listing price, because you don't want it sitting on the market for so long because nobody's noticing it because you've got it priced too high. So hopefully that made sense. So your ARV and your listing price are your first two factors that help your property sell fast. And then of course, the third main factor, and maybe I'm a little biased, there are going to be a lot of real estate investors who do not agree with me, but I've seen it happen time and time again. I know for a fact that this is a factor, and that is design. And of course, REI Design Solutions, we come up with solutions to help you sell your properties quickly. So I know that what I'm doing helps real estate investors. I've seen it happen over and over again. And I've also seen investors lose a lot of money because they absolutely refuse to buy into this notion that design affects the resale. So the design of the rehab is super important. I'm kind of taking a quick look at my notes because there are certain things, especially going back to whatever ARV you are in, remembering that anything around the median home value is pretty much going to sell itself. But you also have to really pay close attention to what's going on with the comps. So if you have a property that has all the comparables have done, let's just say level 1 granite, white subbed backsplash, engineered hardwood floors, or maybe even the laminate wood plank floors that look like wood. And they've just done real simple, and they're selling like days on the market is maybe 30 days. You know that you could probably put those same finishes in there and be safe. Now, would it hurt to spend a little bit of money and just maybe put a fancier backsplash in, maybe put nicer lighting in? Probably not, because then, especially if the competition within the neighborhood, meaning the houses that are still on the market for resale, have followed suit with all of the comparables with the subway tile and the level 1 granite and so on and so forth, you can come in, spend a little bit of extra money to put in spiffier finishes and hopefully nudge those other properties out of the competition. And so then yours ends up attracting more attention, and potential buyers come and they look at it and say, this is my dream house. This is where I want to live. And another reason why I think it's really important to consider design in your rehabs is because I have kind of created something. It's based on some marketing principles. And in marketing, you always want to be figuring out who your ideal client avatar is. So for standard products and service-based businesses, they're creating products and services that they know that ideal client is going to buy. And so they have in their mind who their ideal client is. Well, I believe that fix and flip investors have to do that same type of marketing exercise where they're determining for each particular property, depending on the neighborhood it's in, depending on the finishes, so on and so forth, they need to determine who that ideal buyer avatar is, the IBA, if you will, the ideal buyer avatar. So if you're in a neighborhood, for example, in Houston, that's close to one of the big medical facilities, you know that you're probably going to be selling your property to a young doctor and his family or her family, and maybe, you know, physician's assistants and their family, and so on and so forth. So you're going to get in the mind of that particular buyer, and you're going to say, what is it that appeals most to them when they are looking for houses? What is the age range, the demographic of those particular buyers? And then you're going to design your property according to what appeals to that particular demographic. So that's just something to consider, and why I believe design is really important, because you're selling to human beings. You're not just selling these properties to just some ethereal, you know, thing. And you probably even do it without even realizing it. You probably consider who's going to be buying the house, and you probably think about what you want that house to look like, because you want to get into their mind what they want to see in a particular property. So you're probably already doing that to a certain degree. So again, I mentioned the three main factors for quick resale of your flip properties is the ARV. What ARV are you in? Which range of home value are you flipping in? Are you making a conscious decision to flip in? There are some people that absolutely refuse to flip properties in anything over the median home value. And you know what? That is their business model. That's what works for them. But if you want to explore going a little bit above that median home value, or getting into higher end home flips, then by all means, give us a call at REI Design Solutions. We can kind of walk you through what best approach to take with that particular property, depending on where it is, depending on what the comparables look like. Don't be afraid to step outside of the comfort zone of the median home value, because these houses you sell, you just have to do your numbers right, and you just have to make sure that everything's included in your numbers so that you are actually going to walk away with a profit when all is said and done. Because the last thing we want to do is make a big mistake and just lose everything. So that's what we try to help you avoid. Okay, so now I mentioned that there are several other factors that can affect the quick sale of a flip property. And some of those are, these are kind of the honorable mentions, the neighborhood that it's in. So those of you who are flipping in Houston know that there's Oak Forest is an area where new builds and flip properties are going on left and right. And there's one side of a main thoroughfare in Oak Forest that if you flip on that side, your ARVs are anywhere from $50 to $100 less than on the other side of it. And I think there's some neighborhoods down in Bel Air and Westbury and those areas that the same phenomenon is going on. There's a significant difference just across the street. And part of that is because of the schools. Part of that is just because of historically the kind of the overarching common knowledge and historical knowledge of what the difference is between those neighborhoods. Some of us newbies to Houston don't know nothing about that, but it does affect the resale. And of course, other things such as busy streets, railroads, is there commercial right behind it? Those things are going to affect the quick resale and affect the ARV of those properties. So you always want to be taking those things into consideration. Then the next one is the quality of the rehab. Now, I didn't put this in the top three. It could really be in the top three, honestly, because you can have a beautifully designed home with amazing finishes and in just the right neighborhood at just the right price point. But if people walk in and they look and they see major flaws in the finish work and in the drywall, and I have one investor, bless his heart, who has a lot of uneven flooring in there just because of, I think, a remodel that the previous homeowner had done on the property. And then also with when they tore out the original flooring to put in the new, they had just all these different levels of floor. And it is affecting why this house is sitting on the market, because people are walking in there and that's the feedback that they're getting, that they don't like, that the bathroom steps up 2 inches or that the kitchen steps down. I don't remember exactly which rooms, but so that's something that you really want to consider. And, he and I discussed it, and he knows that is something that he is absolutely going to address the next time. Now, part of the reason, and here's the thing, here's the caveat. You guys have to make so many decisions about your properties from the moment you get that property until you sit at the closing table with the new homeowner, the new buyers, and sign all the closing documents. You are going to be making a myriad of decisions all throughout the process of flipping your house. And so, and you're going to hindsight is always 2020. You're always going to look back and say, man, I wish I would have done that. But you made that decision at that point in time because it made sense, for example, to raise all of level all of these floors in this property would have cost a great deal of money that he wasn't anticipating, because there's always going to be something that you come across in the rehab, throughout the course of the rehab, that may just take the repair costs that you initially figured just through the roof. So you're always making decisions that are somehow going to either affect your bottom line, or they're going to affect how quickly, everything affects your bottom line, but how quickly that property sells, and so on and so forth. I had one client who, she opted not to replace all of the windows again, Houston, remembering that Houston is about 320 in median home value. She was flipping houses in the 350 to 400. This one, I think the ARV was 350, 360. And she opted not to replace all the windows. It would have been about $6,000 to replace all the old, I think, aluminum windows. And everybody that came through that property looked at those windows and said, man, you made this house nice, and yet you left these old crusty windows in there. And you bet she's never left an aluminum window in any of her flips since then, because she learned it less. So you're going to learn. So definitely take those as learning experiences. Make mental notes, make notes on your computer or whatever, keep them close to you so that you don't make those same mistakes again. But again, you're always going to be making decisions that are somehow going to affect your bottom line. You just have to roll with it. And then let's see, what were some of the other, some quick sell in the market. So days on market in that particular neighborhood, you're going to be looking at that in the very beginning. When you're actually before you make an offer on that property, you're gonna be looking at the days on market of the properties that have sold in that neighborhood, because you need to be able to account for those days on market in your holding costs, so that you can still, how much you're going to be able to offer on that property based on all those months of holding costs, all the repairs, and so on and so forth. And so that's something you're going to figure out at the very beginning, is the days on market. Now, if yours sells a lot quicker than that, yay you. But if it doesn't, at least you've had that figured in, and you can roll with that as well. And then, of course, market conditions such as interest rates, the economy, all those sort of things, those factors that change, seems like daily sometimes. And that is not my area of expertise. I'm gonna give a shout out to Jason Bible. I love listening to him talk about the market. And there's some other folks that are really smart, that follow a lot of the statistics and the reporting and what have you from all various resources on the the market conditions and how they affect the real estate market. And so with that said, for those of you who stuck with me and hung out through this whole Facebook Live, I love you. And I'm thankful that I can come on here and we can talk real estate. And if you have any questions, now would be a really good time to shout those out, ask me whatever. We're going to leave this as a replay on our Facebook page, and I'm also going to post it to YouTube within the next week. And what I thought I would probably do is, based on this information, I think I'll probably come up with some sort of a checklist that you can kind of have on hand, that you just go through whenever you're looking at a property to make an offer on it, and just say, okay, how's this going to affect the quick resale? How's this going to affect, and at the end, maybe we'll put together a little scoring system. Eva, if you're still listening, let's get on that. So we'll put together some sort of a checklist with maybe a scoring system, and that'll kind of help you guys decide, if that property is going to sell pretty quickly, or if you're going to be sitting on it a while or whatever. It's always best to have all the information at your fingertips, and so you can just be prepared for whatever you come up. Because when it gets to that point and you've got that property listed and you've got people looking at, you got showings and you're getting all excited, and then you start to get feedback, and then it's sitting there and you're like, what's going on? These are the kind of things that you can be prepared for beforehand, so you can anticipate those things and be prepared to continue to make decisions that will help you get that property sold. So with that said, to your success.